What has been the most scariest moment of your life? A few years ago we were expecting our second baby in 2 weeks. Wife got contractions, but on call doctor said they were Braxton Hicks or whatever. aka false contractions or something. She said to call back in a few hours if they didn't get better. They didn't get better. Wife said to me we need to go in now and went to the bathroom real quick. Well, her water broke in our bathroom. I called 911 and explained frantically. The fire station is 5 minutes from my house, so he told me they were en route and to hang up and comfort her. 90 seconds later she screams it's coming in a super demonic voice. She's standing up, and I see a head coming out. We both reach down, and she catches the baby. I call back 911. This time screaming. Actually got the same dispatcher, and he said oh shut on the line. I can laugh about this now of course. Paramedics arrived within 2 minutes of me being on the line. They take my wife and baby away swiftly because the baby was very cold. I couldn't leave the house because it was 3 AM and my other son was sleeping. Had to call family to rush over as I cleaned up what looked like a murder scene in my bathroom. Rushed to the hospital and they were both okay. Scariest night of my life. Due turned 3 2 months ago. I'm due to give birth in a few months and this is giving me bad anxiety. I'm glad that both she and baby are doing well though. Why do you wanna go back to Jakku? That's no place to raise a child. I was at a swimming pool party as a kid where there were a bunch of pool toys and floaters. There was this one floaty that all the kids swarmed to since it was the biggest and coolest. It was like this hollow cube with 4 styrofoam bars on each corner. I was chilling on it when it flipped, and a few kids landed on me as my head was stuck in the water. I panicked and spluttered in the water as my body was pinned on the base platform of the cube. My head was so close to the surface, but not close enough to breathe. After what felt like an eternity, it finally flipped, and I was able to wriggle to the surface. I'll never forget the sheer horror and panic I felt. Edit, a word. My biggest fear is drowning. Don't worry, drowning isn't how you die. Unless I was a post-divorce single dad with shared custody of my kids on an alternating week schedule. One of the very first weeks, when they lived with me, I put my 5-year-old son in the tub, and after getting him all washed up, sat and chatted with him as he played with his toys. I went to check on my 8-year-old for a minute then came back to find him laying motionless face down in the water. I've never felt so much adrenaline rush through me in my life and I quickly grabbed him by the arm and yanked him out trying to figure out if I even knew how to do CPR. It was then that he started yelling what are you doing? Dad. Turns out he was just practicing how long he could hold his breath underwater and taking a couple of years off his old man's life, apparently. Man, this is why I don't want kids. You leave them alone for a minute and they're already trying to kill themselves. That's all parenting is. Constant positive reinforcement of things that help you not get dead. And hey, if you're lucky they might become a sports star or doctor or something, and that's neat I'm sure. Last year my 2-year-old son knocked his head lightly on the coffee table and started to cry. Seemed relatively minor, but on picking him up for a cuddle, I felt his body stiffen and saw his eyes roll back as he fell silent. Started having a seizure and frantically tried to recall pediatrics training from medical school. 2 ambulances and sedation later we went to the kids hospital. All the while I feared bleeding/tumors and a million other reasons why we could lose him. Longest 30 minutes of my life. Thankfully informed that post-traumatic seizures were surprisingly common in kids. Kind of the opposite for me. When I was a kid, in kindergarten, IDK what age that is anymore, I found my mom butted out on the bathroom floor. Me and my siblings were immediately sent to the neighbors as my dad went with her on the ambulance ride. My family tried to make it seem like everything was okay. Perfectly normal. Mom just felt a little sick. When I went to school the next day my teacher was super nice to me. They all knew she was in the hospital for something minor. Incredibly low iron. Then I was escorted to the office with my siblings and the nurse, our cousin, waited with us. I was incredibly scared because we all knew something had gone terribly wrong. They'd given my mother an iron injection and she was allergic to it. She was dead for a little over a minute. I've almost died myself a few times. and I was there when my father had a heart attack. Something about being young and knowing that everyone was lying when they said everything was okay was terrifying. Being a kid on the verge of losing their mother was the most terrifying thing I've experienced. But I haven't had kids, and I'm sure my mother's terror each time I almost died was huge. I lost my mom at 10. I'm happy you didn't lose yours young. My father lost his when he was 11. I'm pretty sure his pain will always be there. Huddled in the darkness in my family's storm shelter, gripping my dog so tightly I thought I may accidentally suffocate her as a deafening, nearly F5 tornado ripped the house apart above me and spewed debris into the shelter. That was the longest and worst minute or so of my life. I was only a small kid when the F5 hit Plainfield, Iowa in 1990, but I will never forget the vibrations through the floor and walls of our basement or the howling sound as it butted through my town. Wait, you guys have basements and storm shelters? In Illinois you'd better have them. Okay, this one is kind of sad. I live in Dallas, Texas, which is commonly known for violence. My brother and I were going to a club downtown for a concert. We came to a stop in traffic and 3 men got out of the car behind us and opened fire on us. My brother was shot in the neck and head, while I was shot in the chest and leg. He died, I did not. I can no longer hear gunfire, or I just start panicking. Not looking for attention, just sharing my story. The people that killed my brother knew him. My brother was a dealer and hadn't paid back a supplier. Did they get caught? Yes, all were charged with the involvement. Good. I'm sorry to hear about your brother. Thanks you so much. It means a lot. Have a beautiful day. Giving birth to my son nearly 30 years ago. He was overdue. I was being induced and was in uncoordinated labor. After about 16 hours the doctor finally said epidural and rest. 3 hours later I hit transition and I'm told to push. EP wears off and no pain relief means I'm a less than nice soon to be mum. Specialist Ob shows up to do a forceps delivery. Takes a few minutes and my son is born. Upset, slightly cold, jaundiced. Doctor goes to remove the placenta, pulling out a cord only. He swears, starts barking orders, and then tells me there's a small problem. Ordered the EP topped up, a shot to help expel the placenta, and he reached in to manually remove it. Next thing I noticed his arm is bloody to the elbow and the nurse is telling him my blood pressure is 60/40 and falling. They pile warm blankets on me. The fourth is loaded up with warm plasma and some kind of shot. They kept telling me to stay awake. I read my chart the following day. Heme at 6. I'd lost almost a quart of blood and was given 4 unit blood, 3 plasma, 4 saline over 24 hours. Slightly scary. The doctor admitted he was worried at my 2 weeks checkup. Holy shit, birth is terrifying. Yes, it can be. They don't mention these things in your high school human development club, but bitten by a rattlesnake on the ankle. I was praying it was a dry bite. 30 minutes later I could feel the burning in my lower leg. The pain was so bad I threw up and thought I might, but out on the way to the hospital. What happened when you got the hospital? How was recovery? Had a hole in my parachute while static line jumping, with a partial malfunction in static line. You don't release the main chute. When this happens, you're supposed to start a rocking/swinging motion. Open the spare, hit it with one hand, because the spring jams, while catching the pilot chute as it comes out. At this point you should be rocking side to side far enough that you throw the pilot chute off to the side, so that it won't get tangled by the main chute as it deploys. I instantly had the thought that, if I attempted this, my spare, it would get tangled in my main. I just landed with the hole in my chute. Was a bit of a rough landing, but I've had worse on future jumps. It was fine. Still though, was pretty scary as it happened. Static line jumps are close to the ground, so not much time to react. I legit thought I was falling slow enough that I'll probably break both legs, but if my spare got tangled, might actually die. Edit, I should have mentioned this was my first time parachuting. Did you get hurt? You said you thought you'd break your legs. I'm just curious. Nope, I was totally fine. It was the first time parachuting, so I had no scale to know how fast I was falling. It's hard to tell in the air. I was falling faster than the rest of my unit, but not by that much. I've had much worse landings later in my career. With static line jumping, you have to land in a road along the wind direction. Sometimes it just changes last minute, and you end up face planting half concussed as the chute drags you upside down head first in the dirt lol. Watching my husband almost drown, and there was nothing I could do to help. That sounds horribly traumatizing. When I was younger, like 7 or something, there were 3 times I think I nearly died and nobody really cared. Once, I was looking out the window while my mom was going into her nail shop with the car on. Hand slipped and the window went up onto my neck. I couldn't breathe and couldn't move my head or neck at all. Somehow found the button to lower the window. Amazed I didn't crush my own throat. Mom comes back and doesn't believe what happened. Another time, I was eating spinach or bok choy or something. I struggled to chew on it and accidentally swallowed. It got stuck in my throat and again, couldn't breathe. My aunt and my cousins thought I was playing a prank. When I was close to butting out, I reached down my own throat and pulled it out. I stopped eating that day and went to lie down. Third time, cousin pushed me into the pool. I couldn't swim at the time. The lifeguard thought I was playing around, so they didn't do anything. My head went under, and I was only brought back up by some nice older lady. Between all of them, I think the scariest part was that nobody really cared if I was going to die. I still struggle with this today, though significantly less almost ducking died moments. Why does everyone in your life think you're kidding when you can't breath? Might be possibly due to the adults either not listening, taking anything the kids say seriously, X. Respect your elders. Don't talk back. We know more cause we're older. Or that they bottom we're like them to constantly joke about everything. I've dreaded birthdays because my family would all be invited to it. And I'd be forced to spend 8+ hours of them constantly mock me and laugh at literally anything I say. For example, where's your girlfriend? She's working and couldn't get off today. Ha, you can't get her off? That's probably the real reason she ain't here. There was even a time my uncle laughed at me for crying when grandpa had a stroke. The whole boys don't cry shtick. Quite some time ago I was on an adventure/safari alone in Zimbabwe. Bad idea, I know. On holiday from South Africa. And got wrongfully arrested and accused of poaching. I guess at the end of the day I can't blame them. I drove onto a lion sanctuary without a permit because I wanted a look. And of course I was armed. As anyone should be if they're on a safari alone in Zimbabwe. This anti-poaching unit arrested me, ignored my pleas/explanations, said that I met some description they had of a wanted poacher, and transported me back to a holding cell at some camp of theirs in the middle of the desert. If I had known how seriously they took poaching, I wouldn't have even risked being mistaken for one. They told me that I could be punished by being eaten by a lion if it was deemed I was a poacher, but I thought they were kidding. When I got into this holding cell I realized holy shit they're not kidding. I really am going to be eaten by a lion if I'm found guilty. The cell was divided into 2 parts, separated only by a single set of bars. My section was super tiny, and in the other part of the cell was a fully grown lion. Apparently it was injured when it was young and unfit to be released into the wild. For a whole 2 days I was cellmates with this lion, which I was told would eat me if I was found guilty. The stench of this lion in close proximity was unbelievable. I was out of my mind terrified hearing it, smelling it, seeing its eyes glow in the dark at night. Thankfully at my trial I was able to set the record straight. The judge dismissed the case and I was set free. But that was a close one. Don't go poaching in Africa. They take that shit seriously. The stench of this lion in close proximity was unbelievable. I never heard of lions being considered stinky animals. I never heard of lions being considered stinky animals. That smell still haunts me. I guess they do say that smells are the most powerful memory triggers. I was trapped less than 10 feet away when the lion was close to the bars. Anyways, from a pissing, shutting, farting 500-pound beast, when it really got close to the bars I could smell its breath. I can't even explain to you how vomit-inducingly horrific a lion's breath smells. and I was terrified that it would be the last smell I would ever smell. Meeting John Wayne Gacy while hitchhiking in these plains back when I was in HS and living to talk about it. Creepy fair, so I butted on a ride. Holla ducking shit. How did he approach you? What made you butt the ride? Did he seem normal? For everyone just glossing over this comment op avoided getting murdered. Dude offering him a ride was a serial killer, Aka the killer clown. Almost getting into a car crash with my pregnant sister. I don't know you, and you don't know me, but I'm glad you're okay. I was kidnapped by my boyfriend, now ex. He kept me at his house for 3 days. He feed me, bathed me, and clothed me, and he sang to me every night. And while I pretend sleep, he would pray in my ear. I would wake up with him staring at me. It was like it was straight out of a horror movie. Can you tell us how you got away? He had taken away my cell phone. On the third day his plans was he was going to take me far, so I asked him if I can go say bye to my family. I told him I wanted to be with him, and I was excited to move far with him, so he agreed. But he seen how happy I got, he left, and not even an hour later came back and told me, I'm not taking you to see your family because they will take you away from me. I started to cry and told him I want to go home. He got so mad he threw my cell phone on the bed and walked away. I got my cell phone, ran in the bathroom, locked myself, and started to call and text everyone I knew. I shared my location with my family friends. I didn't want to get the cops involved at the moment. I care for him still even after all he had done. One of my friends picked up on my signal and drove to where I was at. She called me. He walked in. When she called me, he took my cell phone and closed the door. He told me I'm going out there to tell her she is the wrong house. I ran after him. He threw me across the room, locked the door. On his way out I unlocked it and ran out to my friend. She held on to me as he pulled on me. When I finally was able to get away, he screamed at the car, I'm going to your house to make sure that's where you are going, and he did. And then it was a week if of him coming around. I filed a restraining order and he would still come. His excuse was he never got the restraining order, so the cops would just tell him he had to go. Till this day he tries to message me. It's hard to live like this, but him doing it. This is possibly the longest sentence on the internet. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you want more videos, don't forget to like and subscribe. You are helping me a lot. Thanks again.